Hey, what's going on, everybody? Manny here once again. Welcome to DFS Zone, your source for daily fantasy sport lineup advice for the NBA and the NFL. Got a brand new video for you guys today. We're going to discuss today's 4-game slate in the association. But before I get started with the video, ladies and gentlemen, like always, I appreciate it if you guys drop a like on the video. And if you're new to the channel, it's your first time ever here and you want to be able to get your lineup advice videos for the NFL and the NBA on a weekly and daily basis during the course of the NBA and NFL season, the only thing you have to do to become a DFS Zone community member is to subscribe down below and make sure you turn on that bell icon so this way you don't miss out on any of my new postings. When I post up new NFL or NBA content, you'll be able to get that information to you right away. All right. With that being said, today's Thursday, November the 8th, 2018, 4-game slate in the association. I'm going to get right to it. I'm going to have a stud 5. I got a couple of guys. I wouldn't say value 5s because it's such a small slate. I really don't like a lot of the players on the slate today. There is a couple of budget plays I will mention that I believe I will be on. I will have some exposure to. But before I also get started, just want to make sure that everybody understands if you're new to the channel and you have not yet become a Facebook group member at DFS Zone, make sure you go and check that out. All the tags for me are right in my video description down below. So make sure I'm going to try to be a little bit more active on Twitter. It's like a new thing for me. I've been with Twitter for a while, but I don't really tweet a whole lot. I have to try to do that for my audience. I mean, there's people that sometimes ask about notifications or getting information just before lock. I normally have a invitation down below within that description as well. Down below, you're going to see that it's going to be a link to the Slack. So if you have Slack or you want to be able to get Slack, just that's an invite. This way you'll be able to communicate with me there. During the course of the day, if I see any value or anything that comes up due to injuries or anything that I may hear, because you have to be on top of this with the NBA, I will definitely notify and post that on Slack, as well as I'm going to do everything I can to be more involved with Twitter. So definitely be able to hit me up there if you have any questions whatsoever regarding cash plays, GPP. You don't hear, you're not too sure of a certain play and you want to be able to get some insight or some advice from me, I'd be more than happy to definitely help you guys anywhere I can. So you can hit me up either on the Slack if you download that, if you take the invite, or just hit me up on Twitter. All right, guys, just want to get that out of the way. So basically, 4-game slate, let's go right to it. So point guard. At point guard, we got Russell Westbrook, more than likely still out. I will believe he's more than likely going to still be out, at least at this moment. So I'm basically bypassing, obviously, Westbrook. I would not be willing to pay for him with an ankle injury coming back and paying $12,000. I'm usually always one to wait to see how some guys pan out for a day, at least for one game or two. I do like Steph Curry a whole lot here tonight. I normally don't like paying $10,000 or more for a guard, but I do believe tonight he's going to get really fired up. He's in a good situation here against Milwaukee, especially the factors that he is at home. So for me, I like Steph today, man. 10,700. You pretty much need about 52, 53 pretty much from him. It's quite a big number, but he has upside. On DK, he's 10,300. You need about 51, so he's playable in both platforms. As you can see, he's averaging more than 32 minutes per game, pretty much on average, especially in the last 3 games. He's let's go over to the Fantasy Cruncher because I love looking at the Fantasy Cruncher. We look at Steph here. And as you can see, the minutes are there. The usage rate is through the roof. I mean, he gets 30% or better usage when he's on the floor. So we know that's going to happen. He's an integral part of this offense, very, very big part of the offense for Golden State. 17, 24, and 20. The last, I mean, he's been shooting. If you look at these numbers, I mean, he's probably taking 22 to 23 shots per game. So that's more than enough. We know he's going to get usage. We know he's going to get tons of shots. He takes about maybe 10 to 11 on average, maybe 12 threes per game, which is really like ridiculous. I mean, it's that ridiculous when any given night this guy can give you 50 or better. I think tonight is one of those nights. You know, he gets about 5 to 9 rebounds pretty much per game. The assists are there. He does a little bit of everything. He turns over the ball a whole lot. That's Steph Curry. You know, he just gets a little crazy with his passing. But he has those moments where he can get you some blocks, depending on who he's guarding, and he can get you some steals. So he has a couple of little positive additional fantasy points that we can get out of him other than him just being a shooter. So I like him here, man. I really do. He's going up against Milwaukee. Milwaukee comes in 5th, as you can see here, in defending point guards this year. Another thing also, he's shooting the ball so well at home. I mean, we always know that Golden State definitely plays better at home, and he definitely plays always usually a lot better at home than on the road. He's shooting 54% from the floor at home and 54% from 3. That is crazy. averaging 50, almost 55 fantasy points per game. So the upside is all there. You know, the numbers look pretty darn good. Didn't play against Milwaukee last year, so I looked back to see if he played them last year, and obviously he did not. You know, last year, as you can see, 2017, the last time he played against them was in 16-17. Last year he was injured the times that they played, so he did not get a chance to play. But Milwaukee's given up 32.3 fantasy points per game this year. I really look at those numbers a lot, and they gave up 49 to Irving, 46 to Lowry, 46 to Simmons. Those are three top-tier point guards in his league other than Steph Curry. So I think Steph Curry's in good company here. I think he has a great opportunity to put up 45 or better. And even if he just gets me 45, I'll be happy with that. But I think he has the possibilities here to have a big, big game. So I like Steph Curry here today as my stud point guard. I do think I'm going to have a little exposure to Damian Lillard just simply because he's at home and his price is under 10K. So you need about 48 there. But I'm going to come down. The next guy, you know, I don't really see a lot of value down here. As far as a budget play, maybe Alexander, and he's at that 4K mark. I prefer to find someone under 4K, but I don't see nobody there as a budget. So I would say Alexander. I'll keep posted on Slack. By the end of the day, I'll have more of a decision if I really would probably consider him. But right now, offhand, I definitely think that he's someone to consider there at about 4. I'm going to definitely have some exposure to Eric Bledsoe. I think he's just too cheap, especially on DK. Eric Bledsoe coming in here, 6,800. You need pretty much 34 from him. He has definitely a lot of upside. He can definitely get you 45, 50. He has that kind of upside. Great GPP play here. On DK, he's only 5,700, folks. 5,700 on DK. You only need about 26, 27 to meet value. That is crazy. That is crazy. I love that price. He's getting more than enough minutes. 2 out of his last 3 games, 30 minutes or better. It's just his production hasn't been good. I mean, he's a little bit of a downtrend. As you can see, he's at about 29 fantasy, almost 30 fantasy points per game. And the last time he put up a 30 spot was 4 games ago. So he's on a downward trend. And that's one of the reasons why his price is a little down. And it's fine. We want to get that budget. We want to get that discount. Let's take advantage of that discount. We come over here to the shooting guard position. Point guard. And let's look at Mr. Bledsoe. And usage rate is fine, man. 19 to as high as 26%, depending on the circumstances, the way the game flow is going. A lot of things can happen. But he's getting 11 to 12 shots pretty much on average, maybe 9 to 10 on average per game. The only problem is he's not shooting the ball well. That's the reason why. 2 of 12 and 6 of 11 in his last 2 games, 1 of 7 from 3 and 1 of 5. That's not going to cut it. He definitely needs to get those shots to go down. Now, if he gets those shots to go down, he's going to be a lot better. Now, he does shoot better at home than he does on the road. He's averaging 37% field goal percentage on the road and 33% from 3. So he has been suffering, only averaging 25 fantasy points per game. I'm not going to just judge him on that. I do like the factors. Then against Golden State, last year he had 2 good games. Pretty much 42 and a 39 spot, about 40 and a half fantasy points per game in the 2 meetings last year. So that is a positive thing to take into account here. They're going up against Golden State. Golden State is 29th, second to last in defending point guards thus far this year. 20 and a half. And they're giving up. What are they giving up? They're only giving up 22 fantasy points per game to point guards, which is pretty darn good. Okay, they gave up 33 to Tyus Jones and 39 to D'Angelo Russell. Those are the only 2 guys they got 30-somewhat fantasy points off of them this year in the point guard position. But again, we're looking at Eric Bledsoe. He definitely has 50-point upside. We know that. And his price is definitely just too cheap right now, especially on DK. You got to take advantage of that discount. Maybe today he'll pay that off and exceed value. I think that there's an opportunity here, especially in a paced-up game. We could definitely see him hopefully be able to put up a good game. I kind of like pairing him up with Middleton today instead of paying up for Giannis, in my opinion, just because Giannis is 12,008 or something like that. And you can get Middleton and Bledsoe probably for like about 2,000, 2,500 more. And you got yourself 2 possible players that can get you 40 or better on a given night that may go off tonight in a game like this against Golden State. So something to consider there. Anyway, all right. So that's what I have at point guard. We go to shooting guard. And at shooting guard, A couple interesting guys. Obviously, James Harden is one of the top guys in the league. Definitely can make value here and exceed it. I'm not willing to pay $11,500 for him, at least right now. I don't plan to have any exposure to James Harden, at least at the moment. But I do like Chris Middleton here. I do like Devin Booker. Those two I like better. And they actually are the two guys that really stand out to me today as far as plays here. But let's go over Booker for a moment first. 8,200. You need pretty much 41 to meet value here. And on DK 7,600, you need about 36, 37. The minutes are there. He's getting 34 plus minutes over the last 3 games. He's averaging 21 points per game on average, pretty much in the last few games. He's had 31 or better fantasy points in 3 straight games, which is pretty darn good. His home and away splits are not too bad. He's 44% shooting from the floor and 36% from 3 coming in here. So I kind of like that. He's averaging 39.5 fantasy points per game at home, so almost a 40 spot. And he is averaging 37 right now. So, he is right in that vicinity. Can he get you 41? Absolutely he can. He's only hit 40 twice this year, which is really surprising. So he really hasn't had that big game. But I believe that he has an opportunity here. He's going up against Boston, who's 22nd in defending shooting guards right now. I love the usage rate. Last 2 games, look at that, 33 and 35. Look at the shots. It's just his percentage of his field goal percentage is really shabby. The last few games, look at this. 8 of 16, 8 of 20, 7 of 17, 6 of 21. That's not going to cut it. 13, 21. He's had maybe 28. He's shot about 50 shots and only hit about 22 shots. I mean, it's just not good enough. I mean, 20. I mean, it's a lot of shots. He is not averaging not even 40% in these games right here in the last 4. Even including this one here is pretty much 50%. That's the last time. And then on shooting threes, he's under 30% as well. So he hasn't been shooting from the floor and from 3 very well. If he could bury down and get 45% shooting from the 3-point line as well as from the floor, he's going to be able to put up monster games for us. Monster games, and he brings a lot of things to the table. He can defend a little bit, gets a couple of steals. He definitely is willing to get some rebounds. He'll get anywhere between 4 or 5 rebounds a game on average, and he dishes the ball as well. 6 or 7 assists a game, maybe as much as maybe 5 or 6 on average. So he is good to go, man. It's just a matter of getting him going. Against Boston, he did have a 47 spot, last year. And the year before that, he did put up 91 in one game against Boston. Now, granted, that's pretty much 2 seasons ago. But again, I love the whole matchup here for Devin Booker, and especially that he's at home with that home crowd. He needs a big game. He knows he's going up against a really good defensive team, and I expect him to play very well. I can see him getting 40 or better in this game. If he doesn't get 40 or better, hey, you know what? I guess I'm going to lose out myself tonight. Chris Middleton is the next guy I really like. If I'm not playing Booker, I'm going to definitely have some exposure to Middleton. I kind of like Middleton in this matchup as well. 7,500. You pretty much need 37. On DK, 6,700. You need 33, 34, pretty much more or less there. His numbers are great. 19 points per game, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 35, pretty much 34.5 fantasy points per game. That's pretty much meets his average. On DK, it's a little bit more extended as far as price here for FanDuel, but I can see why the opportunities there. He's playing against Golden State, up-tempo game. So here we go. We go the last few games. He's at 31 plus in 4 of his last 5 games. 31 plus minutes on average, pretty much over the last few games. We go over to the crunch, Middleton. And as you can see, his usage rate has been good. 26 pretty much over the last 3 games. 26, 27, and 27. His shots also a little off here. 3 of 12, 8 of 19, 6 of 18. Definitely needs to improve in those areas. His field goal percentage and his 3-point shooting percentage over the last couple of games has been a little off. Okay, but he has been able to do other things. Like he's passing the ball, he's getting rebounds. And we know he's a pretty decent defender, man. He moves his feet well. He plays defense with his feet. He uses his hands. His hands are all over the place. He makes steals. As you can see, he's pretty much getting about 1 steal a game on average. He could get you 2 in one game. So I love all that about him. He's shooting about 14, 15 shots per game and about 8 or 9 threes on average if you calculate this. Pretty much 8 or 9. Versus Golden State, the last time he played against Golden State, he put up a 35 spot, just slightly below his price range for that meeting, which was $7,800. He's actually $300 cheaper for this. for this matchup. But Golden State, Golden State comes in 29th in defending shooting guards, as you can see that right here. They did give up 32. They've given up 35. Well, hold on a second. Let me make sure I get that right. Golden State has been giving up, 34.7 fantasy points to shooting guards. I knew it was 30-something. I thought it was 32. 34.7 fantasy points per game given up to shooting guards this year. They gave up 32 to Jimmy Butler, which is one of the better games that they had. Jimmy Butler must have shot poorly that game. But Drew Holiday put up 47, Booker put up 40, and Mr. Gary Harris put up 42. Those most notable, worthy mention shooting guards that are top tier. Middleton is in that vicinity of maybe of a Harris, possibly even a Booker. He's capable of doing all those things. So I like him here. I think he has the potential to hit value and maybe even exceed value in this matchup. Chris Middleton is someone else you guys can consider here. As far as value down here, I'm considering Brogdon at 4,500 as a low value. Those two guys I gave you up there, they're top tier guys. I mean, but those I really needed to speak about those two guys because I really like them that much. I'm not too fond of anybody really down here. I don't see anybody that I like at the moment for a budget play, for someone that you could just throw in there and be 35 to 3,800. I just don't see anybody there. So that's why I would think the lowest I'll go here is probably Malcolm Brogdon of the Milwaukee Bucks. All right, small forward. A small forward. I am loving Kevin Durant, man. I know I gave you guys Curry already. I'm going to give you Durant. Giannis is not a bad play, but 12,500, I'm not willing to play that like I explained before. I kind of like the idea of maybe throwing Bledsoe and Middleton in there, and them two combined will cost me about 2,500 more than Giannis, and I think that they could both combine to put a lot more up on the table for that price tag than Giannis would do for me here at 12,500. It's going to be a tough matchup. I told you guys the last time it was going to be a tough matchup for Giannis against the Clippers, I believe it was, and they shut him down. Was it the Clippers? Let me just make sure. I'm not looking. No, actually it was Portland. Sorry, it was Portland. And he only put up 37, 38 fantasy points. So, I mean, Kevin Durant, I don't know who's going to defend him. If it's not Durant, I mean, it would be Draymond Green, but Draymond Green is out. So, I love Kevin Durant here. I'm not even thinking Giannis at all. But he comes in at 10,008. You need pretty much 54, folks. And on DK, he's 10,200. You need pretty much 51. He's averaging 48, so it's pretty close to his average. But we know he is capable of getting 60 or better. He has a lot of upside. He brings a lot of things to the table, not only just scoring. He can rebound. He passes the ball. He can hit three-pointers on a consistent basis. And he's capable of getting some steals and blocks, as you can see here, 33 plus minutes pretty much on average over the course of this last several games. He's averaging pretty much 41, 52. So you figure in his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, pretty much 7 out of his last 8 games, 41 plus. So even if he gets a 41 at this price, I'll take that beating there if that was the case. If that's going to be his lowest possible fantasy point floor, I'll take it. His lowest for the year has been 31. That I will not like. But if he can get me 40, which I think he can get 40 or better, I'll be happy with 40. But he has the potential to get you 60 or better. Matchup like this, getting fired up to play Giannis and Antetokounmpo and the Bucks, who are a pretty good team, but they're also a paced-up team, just like Golden State. Definitely a nice matchup for Durant. He has had 4 50-plus games this year. 4. 1 60-point game this year and 4 40-point games. And 9 out of his 11 games, that's been his numbers. 40 or better. And 9 out of 11. So I love those odds, all right? His usage rate, let's go over here. Let's take a quick look at Mr. Durant. His usage rate, a little choppy. 21% in 2 out of the last 3. But he can get as high as 28% or better. And that is more like it. 28% pretty much on average. I would say overall, maybe 25 to 26% on average. He's taking about 18, 19 shots per game pretty much on average. And he's shooting about 4 or 5 threes per game. But we know we're going to get the rebounds. We know he's going to dish the ball quite a bit. We know he's capable of getting steals and blocks. All those additional fantasy points that we love to get, he is capable of doing that. And we know that he's going to get 20 possible points per game or better from the floor. So, he brings a lot of things to the table. He's a 5-tier player. He brings a lot to the table. I love the whole idea. Hey, granted, Milwaukee's coming in 5th in defending small forwards. 5th in defending small forwards this year. They're only allowing 18.5 fantasy points per game. But again, they have not met players like Kevin Durant this year. They gave up 32 to Mr. Hayward and only 22 to Jimmy Butler, which is a surprise. But Middleton and Hayward both got 32 on them. And then the only other players they have played have been Layman, Shumpert, Powell, Bogdanovich, and Batum. So they really have not faced anybody really. This is why sometimes you got to look at these fantasy point totals, and then you start calculating and you start realizing, man, all right, they've been only giving up 18.5 fantasy points per game, but something's got to give here. Who have they been playing? Who have they been matched up against? And then when you look and see who was the other player, you start realizing, well, they really haven't played a whole lot of stud players. So they'll be surprised. So Kevin Durant definitely in a good matchup, even though this team is only giving up 18.5 fantasy points per game. All right. Wasn't really loving too much this small forward position, so come down a little lower. The only other guy that I like and that I'm considering is Trevor Ariza at 5,300. He's been playing well for Phoenix since coming to the Phoenix team. 10 points per game, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 23.6 fantasy points per game. He's at 5,003 here on Fanduel. You need about 26. And on DK, he's 23. He's 4,600, so you need 23. He's averaging pretty much 24 here. On DK, he's averaging 25. And I can see here, what I love is the minutes. He's getting minutes. He's on the floor, man. 32 plus pretty much over the last 4 games on average, 32 to 33. He's at 25 plus in 2 of his last 3 games. 25 plus. So you got 32 here, 25 and 36. So pretty much 3 games out of his last 4. So he's slightly in a little bit of an uptrend, even though he had a little dud game here against Brooklyn where he put up only 19 pretty much. And as you can see, he's capable of getting you 40. He get a 44 spot here. We're going to take a look at him a little bit further over here. Usage rate, pretty much 16 to 17%, I would say. Maybe the highest, 18%. He does get more than enough shots. Just got to bury them a little bit more better, at a better rate. 14 of 12, 4 of 12 here, 4 of 11. He does get at least 4 or 5 on average, maybe 6. I would say 5 on average, threes per game. And he's capable of getting the rebounds. He's capable of getting some assists. And he defends fairly well. He's a pretty decent defender, Trevor Ariza. He got 1 block in the last game. He did get 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the 4 games prior to that. 7 steals in the 4 prior games after the one behind Brooklyn. So he has done well, and he's been in double digits 3 out of his last 4 games as far as floor points. So Trevor Ariza can be possibly someone to consider here. Boston last year did put up 36 fantasy points last year against Boston. 36 spot here in that last game against Boston last year. It was a shootout. High-scoring game, 33 minutes, had 24% usage rate, got off 18 shots and 13 threes. Only hit 4 of 13. He could have put up even more bigger numbers. But, again, that's when he was with Houston. Different scenario here. They come in. Boston is 22nd in defending small forwards this year, and they have allowed 24 fantasy points per game thus far. Guys like Bogdanovich put up 28. Jonathan Isaac put up 35. So these are the guys that I would figure they are in the same vicinity as far as skill set as a Trevor Ariza. So I think he fits in perfectly for a chance here to do very, very well. I really think that he could be someone that can do pretty well here in this matchup. Other than that, I kind of, with the injury to Draymond Green, keep your eye on McKinney. I think McKinney at 3,800 would be a nice budget play. I have my eye on McKinney, and I also have my eyes on James Ennis due to the fact that Eric Gordon is more than likely still out. So James Ennis has been getting the minutes there. So you got 2 possible budget plays. I think Alfonso McKinney is going to be the best one, in this situation. 3,800 pretty much for him. Let's take a quick look at him real quickly. I mean, yeah, he's getting the minutes, man. 26, 27, 29 in 3 out of his last 4 games. Got a double-double over here. 8 and 8 over here. 35 spot. So he's capable of getting you in the 30s. Yeah, he has some upside for GPP. If there is no Draymond Green, which I believe obviously he is not playing, it's just a matter of finding out from here to the time tip-off comes to find out if McKinney's going to start. If he's going to start, he'll definitely be on a number of my lineups just for that 3,800 price tag. All right, power forward. At power forward, I definitely like Tavares Harris here. Now, I didn't play him the other night. He had a fairly good night. I think he's in another good spot here today. 3 straight games at 21 plus points from the floor per game. So he's been solid. 21, 8 rebounds, 1.9 assists, 35.5 fantasy points per game. He's at 7,800. You need about 38 on Fanduel. And on DK, 7,100. You need 35 there. He is averaging pretty much 35. 2 out of his last 3 games, he's pretty much at 35 plus. So he's at least trending upward. His minutes are good, 32 to 34 minutes, pretty much on average. 4 of his last 5 games, he's had 21, as I mentioned before. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 out of his last 5 games, at least 21 or more points from the floor. We'll take a look at him over here on the Fantasy Cruncher, and his usage rate is pretty decent. 21 pretty much on average, 21 to 22 usage rate per game, and then good at shots. Pretty much on average 15 to maybe as much as 16 shots per game, and he's taking at least, I would say, 3 to 4 on average threes per game. So he is getting a lot of touches with the basketball and getting a lot of shots off. Obviously, what he brings to the table is the rebounding. He's not big on passing the ball, and he'll get the occasional block and the occasional steal. He's not big on that, but he can definitely help us in a lot of other ways. His home and away splits have been pretty decent. He is shooting 54% from the floor and 44% from 3 with a 35 fantasy point per game average on the road. That is pretty good for Mr. Tavares Harris. Going up against Portland. He hasn't done well against Portland when I last looked. I'm going to take a look again. Yeah, he didn't do well last year. Only 22 and 21 last year. But, hey, Portland is 13th right now in defending power forwards this year. They are allowing right now at the moment 32.5 fantasy points per game. That's a whopping big number. Obviously, when you calculate and you see those kind of numbers, who they have played? Well, Marichik put up 46. Markieff Morris put up 45. Those are the 2 biggest guys. They did hold Giannis to 37 the other night, which was big. But Tavares Harris needs to touch the ball a whole lot here, man. They need it because they don't have nobody up front. It's just him and Harrell. It's plain and simple. It's just him and Harrell, and they actually are the 2 guys that I'm going to discuss because my next guy here, as far as value, I'm willing to pay $5,800 for Montrezl Harrell. $5,800, I'm interested. Harrell comes in at $5,800. You need 28. On DK's $5,600. You need 27. He's been slightly trending a little upward. Last 2 games, you see his average is 27.8, and he's been at 27 or better in 2 straight games. So he's slightly a little up. I love the fact is that he's had 2 double-doubles in a row, 13.7 rebounds. He's had 2 double-doubles this year, 13 points in 7 and 10 and 12 here. His last double-double was right here against Houston, 17 and 10. But you're going to get some floor points, and he's capable of getting massive rebounds in bunches. And what he brings also to the table is the defense. He gets rebounds. He can get some blocks and some steals. We go over here to Harrell, and as you can see here, usage rate pretty much 15, 16%, maybe the most 17% when he's on the floor. He's been very efficient. 6 of 7, 4 of 8, 3 of 5. So he takes minimal shots, but he buries them. They're pretty much all up close. They're pretty much putbacks. They're pretty much dunks. And then you get over here, he gets the rebounding, and you get also his blocks and steals. Last game, he had 3 steals. The game before that, 3 blocks. So if we can keep getting 9 fantasy points per game from him because of his defense, we'll take that. Those are the kind of players we want. So 5,800, I think he can definitely get us there. He has pretty much 40, 50 point. He has 40-plus potential, as you can see, 49 and 43 already this year. So the upside is there. Definitely a good GPP play. And his floor is not too bad. He's probably only going to get, lower end, maybe about 17 or 18 fantasy points, but pretty much as far as points, from the floor, maybe 18 to 19 is probably the, fantasy points, probably the minimum, probably 18 to 19 you could probably get off of him. But he is a fine play here against Portland, man. They're going to need to, him and Harris are going to need to battle like crazy. All right, as far as budget down here, man, I don't love a whole lot of stuff down here, to be totally honest with you guys. Marcus Morris is 5,100. He's someone I may be considering. It's not considered a budget play. It'll be a value play. Eminu is always someone to consider. But you get here under 4, maybe borderline here. Jerebko might get some minutes. Looney, I'm not too sure of. Maybe Henson. Let's see how many minutes Henson gets. 38. You need about 17, 18 minutes. And he's not quite getting that, But if he gets 19, he gets about close to 1 fantasy point per minute. Again, like I said before in these videos, you want a budget play like this, 3,800. You want to see that he has at least some upside potential for you. You want him to at least be able to get 17 or 18 minutes or better, to be able to try to meet that, because at that 3,800, you need pretty much like 17 or 18 fantasy points. So if you get 1 fantasy point per minute, you need him to at least get 17 or 18 minutes on the floor on average. And, down here at the beginning of the year, he was getting that. But as of late, here he got 19, and he was able to put 10 from the floor and 6 rebounds. He put up 17. He did have 22 and a 20, pretty much 28, 29, 30. He has almost 29 upper 20s upside. So could be someone to consider. Holmes had a big game the other day, but he, we just don't know. I would say between the bottom half right now, I would say Henson, Holmes, and maybe Patrick Patterson. He's at 13.5 fantasy points per game on average, and he's getting about 16, 17 minutes per game, and not quite 1 fantasy point per minute, but has 20-point upside. He could be someone, but I doubt it for me. Maybe more so if I am going to go budget. Let's put it this way. I don't think there's anybody down there to really look at. Let's go to center. I'm just wasting time making the video longer. Sorry about that. It just don't make no sense. I would not. Why would I even discuss it if I'm not going to even be on them myself? Over here at center, I really like 2 guys only. I don't even have a budget or a value play here, to be totally honest with you. I think the best 2 plays here are Nurkic is in an absolute great matchup. That's why he is priced up at 8,100. And DeAndre Ayton is the only other guy that I like. Those are the 2 players I like, and I like the fact that they're both at home. But we're going to talk about Nurkic first. And he has been, pretty darn good, man. As of late, he's been steady. That's the most thing. 32, 36, and 39. The minutes are a little low, 24, but he's been as high as 20, as 30. I would say he's more like a 24 to 27-minute player. He's going to get more or less like that. But he's a double-double pretty much anytime on the floor. I mean, look at this. He just missed a double-double here, missed one here, missed one here and here pretty much. He's been off four games. He could have had double doubles, and he's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, pretty much 5 double doubles. He has had 32 plus in 5 straight games, so he's consistent. His minutes are around 24 to 28, 5 double doubles. He's had 3 games at 1 rebound. Like I calculated here, about 3 or 4 games that he just was 1 rebound away from a double double. We come over here, and we look at him a little further here in the fantasy cruncher. And look at the usage rate. Pretty darn good, man, for a center. 22 to as much as 23 on average. Maybe on the high end, 28 to 30 at give and take, depending on the game flow and how the offense is revolving. But he's getting, I would say, maybe 9 to 10 shots per game. And he's, we're going to get some rebounds from him. We also get a little bit of blocks from him. He has had 4 blocks in his last 3 games and 1 steal. The only drawback, he can get a little bit of foul trouble. He hasn't fouled out this year, which is good, which he was doing a whole lot last year. He was always getting into foul trouble quite a bit last year. But 40-point upside, he's got 50-point upside right here, as you can see. So we know that at 81, you pretty much need 40. And on DK, I forgot to tell you, the reason I love him the most is on DK, he's only 6,600. You must play him on DK at 6,600. That's only 33 you need from him to meet value. I love him a lot more on DK than I love him on Fanduel, but I will probably have some space. I'll definitely make room for him in a few lineups here on Fanduel. But 6,600 on DK is a must-play for Mr. Nurkic. We come over and we take a look, right? He has had, in his last 3 games against LA, look at these numbers, 55, 41, and 43 last year. And 3 out of his 4 games last year, he smashed value. Now, granted, his price tag was lower here as opposed to here now. But he did get 41, 43, and 55. So he's had 41 or better in 3 games, his last 3 meetings against these guys. So, I mean, there is potential. Now, and granted, this was when the Clippers had DeAndre Jordan. They don't even have Jordan now. It's more of a reason why he looks even more appealing and more interesting to me is that they don't really have a center. They're going up against LA. They are 25th right now in defending centers, allowing 44 fantasy points per game to centers, the most in the NBA. So you got to definitely take advantage of that. They gave up 55 to Towns, 47 to Vucevic, 68 to Embiid, 44 and 41 to Steven Adams, and 41 and 45 to Capella, and 45 to Jokic. So they have given up tons of fantasy points pretty much 41 fantasy points or better to those 5 or 6 centers I just mentioned right now. So Nurkic is in a definitely good spot here. I definitely think he's someone you guys should consider. Other than him, I like Mr. Ayton for Phoenix. He's downtrending, so we're catching him at a little bit of a discount from what he was at. I mean, he was once at 46.6 per game. He scored 46. He's come down to 37, now 31. But 7,500 for him is 37. On DK, he's 6,800. You only need 34, and he's averaging pretty much almost 37. But he has 40-point upside, actually 45-point upside, and he has had 5 40-plus games for a rookie this year. 5. He's averaging 31 to 33 minutes pretty much on average per game. Has had 6 double-doubles. Pretty much I already calculated these. We come over and we'll take a look at him a little further over here. His usage rate last game 30%, which is pretty darn good. He has 17 opportunities, but he just shot the ball poorly, 6 of 17. But he's going to get you the rebounds. He's going to get you some blocks and steals. He didn't have it in the last game, but look at the prior games. 3 steals, 2 blocks, 2 blocks. He's going to do this on a consistent basis. He is definitely a solid play here for you guys. Usage rate is good. He gets about maybe 9, 10, 11. I would say 10 shots pretty much on average, 11 shots a game from the floor. And you're going to get the rebounds. You got more than likely a double-double every single time. Again, he has 50-point upside. I really like the whole thing, the whole opportunity for him today. Not only that, he has his home and away splits, 59% shooting from the floor at home. He's been doing very well at home, averaging 38.8 fantasy points per game. So that's slightly above his average. So that means he's done excellent at home. We definitely would love to take advantage of that. He's going up against Boston. They're 22nd in defending centers. And they're allowing 33 fantasy points per game to centers this year. They did already give up 43 to Drummond, 49 to Vucevic, 41 to Mr. Cantor, and 42 to Embiid. So there is definitely opportunity for Mr. Ayton here. And that's pretty much it. I am not interested in anybody else here as far as value, at least at the moment. I think those are the best 2 possible plays. You could have a little exposure to Capella or Adams in that matchup, but I think Ayton is in a better matchup, and I think Nurkic is definitely in the best matchup here today. And that's basically it, guys. Again, man, remember down below is the links for everything. The links, my Twitter handle. I will try to be on top of everything, try to get that stuff out to you if there's any changes in the lineups. Again, just reach out to me. The Slack chat, you can definitely reach out to me there. And that's basically it, man. I wish you guys a lot of luck. We'll see you guys on the next video.